During the ancient Javanese period, the Javanese were already familiar with the use of personal names derived from natural elements, such as the name of animals. Old Javanese literary works, especially Panji tales, contain many character names derived from animals such as Kuda Narawangsa, Kabokanigara, and Kidang Walangka. This naming phenomenon also appears to be found in the old Javanese inscriptions. There are such problems. 1. Why were the ancient Javanese people given or used animal names as personal names? 2. How is the relationship between the personal names, the social status, and the position of the person? This paper involves archaeological research methods consisting of data collection, analysis, and interpretation. The data collection includes searching literature studies of published and translated old Javanese inscriptions, as well as literature on Hindu-Buddhist mythology, religious fables, encyclopedia, and writings that review the existence of animals in ancient Java. The analysis consists of processing data based on the type of animal, the importance of animal in ancient Java, the chronology of appearance, the formulation of name placement, and the accumulation of social status and position. In the interpretation, the results of the processing are then interpreted based on the list of the problems that have been made. The scope of this paper is divided into 5 parts. The names of animals used as personal names, motivation for naming, the chronology of appearance, the formulation of name placement, and the relationship of personal names with social status and position of the person. The first problem will be answered in section 2 and the second problem will be answered in section 5. There were 30 types of animal names carried by 100 people. The most widely used animal is kebo with a percentage of 36%, followed by the name gajah, gagak, lembu, macan, manjangan, minda, banyak. Almost all animal names used as personal names in ancient Java are endemic to the island. This shows that the ecosystem at the time was the most dominant factor in the emergence of this phenomenon. This also cannot be denied by the dominance of the name kebo, or buffalo, which is the most sacred animal in Indonesia's Neolithic tradition. Based on the search for the important meaning through mythology, religious fables, and their role in the culture of society, in general, this phenomenon was motivated because these animals were considered special and had a place in the culture of society. This particularity or speciality is influenced by their association with the gods and their role in Hindu-Buddhist mythology, the exemplar character or quality depicted in religious fables, and their role in the culture of ancient Javanese society, whether as sacred animals, fighting or gambling animals, hunting animals, farm or domestic animals, vehicles of war, and public transportation. This phenomenon is a manifestation of the cultural appreciation of the ancient Javanese people towards the natural surroundings. So in this section, I also implement the concept formulated by Nystrom, which is the concept of associative meaning of name. It is the meaning that's subjective and depends on every point of view of the person who captures and perceives the name. Personal names derived from animal names can be perceived as wahana or vehicles of gods or Hindu-Buddhist mythological animal figures and depictions of certain animals that were valued in ancient Japanese culture. A person may believe and expect the power and traits of a certain Hindu-Buddhist mythological god or animal to manifest in him through personal naming of the associated name. The chronology of the emergence of this phenomenon is marked from the Rakai Pikatan reign to the late Majapahit era. The reigns with the most number of names were found in the Kertanegara, Kronjayadipa, and Sarweswara reigns, or from the middle era of Kadiri to the late of Singasari era. And here we have the tables of periods of reigns with the most complete animal name types. The reign of the ancient Mataram kings such as Dia Balitung and Rakai Kayuwangi have a number of types of names that are directly proportional to the number of names found, unlike the Kadiri Majapahit period whose names were less than the Dia Balitung era, but however, the quantity of names was much greater. This is probably because this phenomena in ancient Mataram time were still in their early stages of emergence and had not followed a deliberate trend, so that they tended to appear randomly at once and allowed for the use of different types of animal names. Meanwhile, the phenomenon of Kadiri Majapahit period might very well have followed a deliberate trend with a large number of people with certain animal names like Kebo, Gajah, Gagak. Personal names derived from animal name in ancient Java consist of two types based on the placement formula: single name and first name. Single name means consisting of only one name, for example, Sitikus, while as first name means accompanied by a last name and or middle name afterwards, such as the name Tikus Putih. The single name is dominated by the ancient Mataram era with 24 amount of names, while the Kadiri Majapahit period has only 5 names. The first name consists of 71 names. Almost of them are found from the Kadiri Majapahit period with a total of 70, while the remaining one is from the ancient Mataram kingdom. According to the Kasparis and Jones, titles can identify social status. As for people with personal names derived from animal name, most of them are from lower social status or ordinary people who were indicated by the title C and without title. This phenomenon may not be separated from the origin of its appearance, which from the beginning was more widely used as a personal name by the villagers. Personal names used by people from low social class consist names like Kebo, Lembu, Banyak, Gagak, Minda, Tikus, Manjangan, Kancil, and Asu. Those are animals that are close to agricultural life in the village. The second one is the relationship between personal names and position of the persons. Based on the results of data processing, people with personal names derived from animal names tend to be found occupying village-level positions, followed by regional and central level. Specifically, the position of Makassar Kasir was the most identified position with achievements over almost a quarter of the total, and was followed by the position of Buyut. With the finding of more tendencies towards the position of Makassar Kasir, then a check was carried out for its relevance to the personal names. First of all, according to Sediawati, there are epigraphic sources, Jaring inscriptions and Kamulan inscriptions which commemorate the bestowment to local officials, who most of them were people with personal names derived from animal names, and held Makassar Kasir position for their services in maintaining the defense of the kingdom. According to the Kasparis, the Makassar Kasir banner indicates that there were several military groups who may have marked themselves with animal symbols and animal personal names. Sediawati concludes that the term Makassar Kasir was intended for the banner of the army and that the banner often depicts an animal. The description of the banner or military flag can be supported by the contents of the Chinese chronic notes Chacuk of the 13th century regarding the Javanese king who was escorted by thousands of troops. These troops used head covers shaped like various animal heads such as tigers, deer, oaks, sheep, elephants, and so on. The information in Smaradahana in the Chinese notes Chacuk shows that the animal element was used as an element of the army both in the form of a flag emblem and in the form of a head covering. According to Sediawati, between the person and the banner he has is one unit, so that ultimately it also affects the naming of himself with the elements in the banner or flag. The Kasparis adds that the use of animal elements as personal names is useful for identifying oneself and differentiating one group from another. The interpretation of the relationship between position Makassar Kasir and each animal's names as personal names is summarized in the following table. For example, the name Kebo could represent the power of the god of deeds, Yama, so Makassar Kasir, whose name Kebo, could be seen as a frightening threat as he had a great power that could kill his enemy. According to Zoetmulder, in ancient Javanese literary works, the warriors tend to be described with powerful characteristics. Through the imagery of things that are great, magical, frightening, and magnificent. This can be seen as an attempt by the Makasir to inspire the imagery in the form of animals which are capable of satisfying the characteristic they desire. Based on 30 types of animal names from a total of 100 person names found, the results show that, in general, the motivation for naming derived from animal names in ancient Java was because certain animals were valued. They were considered to have important roles in the culture of society so that they occupied a special place in the heart of the name bearer. Furthermore, this motivation is specifically adjusted to the development trend of the phenomenon during the ancient Mataram period and the Kadiri Majapahit period,